Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the player ratings show, or rating the ratings as we call it, after the United have beaten Watford 1-0 in the FA Cup. I'm going to rate the ratings from the Manchester Evening News again. Before I do, just before I came on, I've seen the news that the COVID cases amongst the Football League teams, bearing in mind that I think the amount of tests that they're doing is going up, and the rate of infection amongst football clubs has gone down. Some people might say to me, look, it's more important what's happening in the world, what's happening in the nation. I understand that. Obviously, that's true. It's 100% the case. I do get that. But lots of people like me are living from game to game and really looking forward to the football and desperately hoping for the football to carry on. And I know there's been one or two people, I think Steve Bruce was mentioned, the manager of QPR, excuse me for sort of forgetting his name at the moment, but a couple of people have been on Sky sort of saying that they think we should have a 2-week break or even longer. There are other managers saying we shouldn't, and I think for the sake of, and it might sound selfish, but there's hundreds of thousands of people out there. There's millions who are watching, multi-millions who are watching the odd game, absolute millions watching plenty of games, and there will be the odd freak like me that's living from game to game, not just United games, but these football games on the TV are keeping us going. And it's easy for me to say, I do get that, but these footballers, they're in a bubble, they're in touch with each other, they're in touch with their own families, they shouldn't be going out seeing other people. And if the rate of infection goes up, I understand, but if they can keep it at a level, and at the minute it has gone only a little bit, but it has gone down since last week, praying it can go down again next time they do tests, and I really hope that the football does keep going. I do think it's important in a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people's lives, more so than usual. You know, more so than usual when you're locked in your house and you can't go, you're not supposed to go anywhere, there's nowhere to go anywhere for any entertainment. And I think it's fabulous that they are keeping the football going the way they're working at it. So I hope they don't cancel it even for a couple of weeks. So fingers crossed that COVID rate amongst football clubs, just as it is, or just as I hope it does in the nation, I hope it starts going down. Rating the ratings, the Manchester Evening News, Dean Henderson, they've said he was like Fabian Barthez at times, getting involved when he did not need to. I can sort of see that, and they've said he injured Eric Bailey. I'm not too sure he could have done much about that. He had to go for it. They've given him 6 out of 10. Like I always say, that's decent to good. I would say that's fair enough. He was decent to good. He kept a clean sheet. I always think it's hard to give a keeper less than a 6. Maybe he should even get a 7. You know, when he sets out to any game, you know, he'd take that. No matter how he gets it, he'd take a clean sheet whenever he plays. So maybe he should even get a bit better than that. But I'll settle for a 6, like the Evening News have said for Dean Henderson. Brandon Williams, they've said aggressive on only his second start at right back, and will have to improve if he is switched to that side. If he is to switch to that side permanently, they've given him a 6. I'm afraid I'm going to say a 5 for Brandon. I thought he was a little bit erratic with his passing and his challenging, and he was pushed off the ball a little bit too easily a couple of times. I think as I say, a 6 is decent to good, a 5 is poor to decent, and I would say he was decent at best, Brandon Williams. So I think a 5 for Brandon. Axel Tuanzebe, they've given a 7 to. 7 in my markings is very good. I'd just about settle for that. I think decent to good, really, but you know, very good. Yeah, maybe clean sheet, playing centre back. Solid next to Eric Bailey, and then Annie Maguire as United kept a clean sheet. They've said book for kicking the ball away. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 is very good, and I think that's probably fair enough. Maybe, yeah, definitely say a 7. I'd agree with that. Eric Bailey, often his own worst enemy with getting injured, they've said, but just unlucky. He seems to be unlucky a lot though. When is he going to stop? But just unlucky when Henderson collided. It was unlucky, but like I say, I don't know how often it can be. It was really unlucky. I shouldn't even mention it, but he seems to be unlucky a lot. Forced off just before half time, they've said, and they've given him a 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10 I would agree with. As I say, 6 out of 10 is decent to good, and 5 out of 10 is poor to decent. I've put a few clips up on Twitter already comparing Eric's passing to Scott McTominay's passing. A lot of people were criticising Scott McTominay's passing, and Eric Bailey gave the ball. You can't afford your centre-back to give the ball away. He gave the ball away 3 times in the first half, and 2 of them were particularly sloppy, and the other one wasn't clever either. So I'd be tempted to give him a 5. 5 would be poor to decent, but let's say a 6, but he's only just in the 6 bracket, so more decent than good. So I would say 6 out of 10 for Eric, decent. Alex Telles, they've given him a 7. I don't agree with that. I would give him a 6. A threat in attack where he assisted Scott McTominay from one corner and almost provided another goal for Bailey. He did take 2 good corners. It's not enough to say somebody had a very good game. No, it really isn't. He was decent. You know, he was maybe good, decent to good, I would say. So a 6 for me. Alex Telles, a few too slack passes, I thought, and a little bit hot-headed at times in possession. I thought I had a shot, I thought, once when he should have passed it. He tried a long ball once and went out for a goal kick where he didn't need to try a long ball. So for me, for the left back, I thought he was decent to good, not very good, as 7 is for me. So I would say 6 for Alex Telles. Scott McTominay, a fine header to put United 1-0 up, and adept at heading in his own box as United briefly coped without Bailey. When Bailey went off, there was a minute or so before Maguire came on, and Scott stepped into the centre-back position, and he won a couple of headers in his own penalty area and got a good clearance in as well. He had a fine 90 seconds perhaps as a centre-back. He did get the winning goal. A lot of people criticised his passing. I've already put a few, as I say, I compared it to Eric Bailey's passing, and I put it up on Twitter. I've watched the whole game back again. I can find 4 passes that Scott McTominay misplaced. One of them was definitely poor. One of them was a bit unlucky, and the other 2 not great. But there was one pass that he tried to thread it through to Juan Mata, and it got intercepted. I thought it might have been worth a try. One that he played to Dan James, and it missed him by a yard or 2, but the camera angle isn't great. It's not on Dan James. You can't tell if Dan James suddenly made a dart to his left to try and get a run on the fullback as Scott McTominay was playing. It's difficult to tell on the camera. I sort of am defending Scott McTominay, but at the same time, I'm just being dead fair. I'm being dead fair. You cannot tell on that camera, on the one where he passes it out to the left-back area, you cannot tell. When he passes it, the camera is on McTominay. It's not on Dan James. And then you see the camera move to Dan James, and you see Dan James as if he's just putting the brakes on. So maybe he was standing there waiting for the ball from McTominay, and then suddenly decided to make a spurt behind the fullback, and that's how it appears to me. It appears, one of them appears as though it's more of a mix-up between the 2 players. So either way, whichever way round it was, I don't think misplacing 4 passes in a whole game warrants being called out by so many people that his passing was terrible. I think a 7. They've said 7, which I think is very good. I think he did. Defensively, he was great. And his passing was proper decent. As I say, give it away 4 times and he got the winning goal. So I would agree with 7 out of 10 for Scott McTominay. A very good game. Donny Van De Beek, I can't believe what they've written about Donny. Eager to get the ball and provided a lovely layoff for Juan Mata that the Spaniards squandered. Not involved as much as he should have been. Now then, there's 2 different things here. I don't particularly like quoting stats. I do it a lot. I don't like it, but I do it a lot. They're there. Other people quote them. I don't mind using them occasionally, but it's not my favourite thing to go by. My favourite thing to go by is what I see. And what I see is a player, Donny Van De Beek, who's dead neat and tidy, who gets involved, and they've said not involved as much. Just from watching it, I thought he got involved a lot. Just from watching it. So I thought he got involved a lot, and I thought he looked after the ball well. I thought he played really well, and certainly a 7, very good. For me, it was between him and Scott McTominay for man of the match. Obviously, McTominay, stronger in the air, more physical, got the winning goal. Scott McTominay's only up there with Donny because of a few different type of things that he's good at. But when it comes to actually playing football, getting the ball on the ground, getting involved, Donny Van De Beek was head and shoulders our best player. As I say, Scott McTominay's up there with him for different reasons. And then this is what I was going to say about stats. You get the stats, and I've seen the stats on Twitter. I think it was 75 passes, more than anybody else on the field, and then his pass completion rate was, I can't remember what it was, but it was higher than anybody else on the field. I think he played something like 75 passes and only misplaced 3 of them, something like that. But for the Evening News to put not as involved as much as he should have been, I think whoever the writer is, I think they should be having a word with him. So 7 out, they've given him a 6. I'm upping Donny Van De Baek to a 7 out of 10. Juan Mata should have scored from Van De Beek's flick in a one-on-one that put him in on a one-on-one, which he should have scored, but the keeper made a decent save. He tried to slot it under him. I've seen worse efforts, but he should have scored, which would have made it more comfortable for United. That's all they've said, and they've given Juan a 6. I thought Juan was perfectly fine, decent to good, he's fine, so 6, yeah, without a doubt. Jesse Lingard, they've given him a 5. Some nice touches in his movement with Mata was key during United's best attacking periods, but difficult to remember a standout contribution. Made way for Nemanja Matic. I won't disagree with the 5, but I don't like the idea of saying difficult to remember a standout contribution. That's as if to say if you score a goal or you make a goal. I know I've just said Scott got one of the goals, but he got one of the goals, plus he was winning lots of headers, plus, you know, it's just part and parcel of a big thing. So to say that you can't remember, just to say that you can't remember a standout contribution, that doesn't mean that you didn't have a good game. Now, having said all that, I thought Jesse was just okay. He wasn't particularly, I would just say decent, that's all. A 5, I won't disagree with the 5, but I don't agree with difficult to remember a standout contribution. That shouldn't be high up on your list when you're deciding who played well or didn't play well. Daniel James started really well and drew a save from Daniel Backman, but faded and reverted to a headless chicken mode. Don't agree with that. They've put substituted, that's fine, he was, and they've given him a 5, which is decent to good. I wouldn't disagree with that, but I would point out, as I say, that all these, you know, some players are on a 6 who played slightly better than others who are on a 6, and also some players might be on a 5 who played slightly better than others who were on a 5. And a 5 to me is decent to good. I would say Daniel James got a 5. I don't disagree with it, but I would say he's erring more towards the good side of it than just the decent side of it. I thought he had, let's say, a thoroughly decent game. He made a few mistakes, of course he did. They've mentioned the shot that the keeper made a decent save from. That shot went for the corner that actually led to the goal. So that was handy that he had that shot, by the way. The headless chicken mode, I don't get it one little bit, and I'm going to mention this again at the end when I come to the substitutes. Substitute, decent to good, 5, Daniel James, don't disagree with it. Mason Greenwood, not involved enough for a centre forward. I don't agree with that either. Moved around to try and link up with the forwards, but under par again. Under par again, I agree with. Not involved enough for a centre forward. It's the hardest job in the world for a centre forward. Not involved enough for it. The comment doesn't make sense. Not involved enough. You get involved as much as you can, of course you can. But to say not involved enough for a centre forward is as if to say your centre forward should be involved a lot more. It's a bit like saying your keeper didn't catch it enough for a keeper. Of course, you know, he's got to do that. So you've got to get involved in the game as much as you can, but that's as if to suggest a centre forward should be more involved than others. It's more difficult for a centre forward to get involved than it is for anybody else. So not involved enough for a centre forward. Unfair. That's an unfair comment, but I do agree that he was under par, and I do agree that he isn't really. I honestly don't think he's cutting the mustard, Mason Greenwood. I really don't. Everybody raves about him. He's got great power in his left foot when he gets a chance to shoot. He tries too often to get a shot in when he's on the right. He tries cutting in a lot then when he's played up front, which everyone's saying his best position is the centre forward. Can't really get involved in the game as much. Doesn't, you know, he's not cutting it for me, Mason Greenwood, and I don't disagree with the 4 out of 10. Subs, I always say that I only mark a substitute if he gets at least 45 minutes, and Harry Maguire came on just before the half-time whistle went. So Harry Maguire, they've just said a calming influence, 7. I would say he got half a game. I would say he had a good game, Harry Maguire. I wouldn't say very good. I would say he had a good game for the half that he played. So I would say 6. I know that can be decent to good, but let's say he was closer to a good. They've said 7. I'm saying a 6 for Harry Maguire. Now, I don't mark players who get less than half an hour, but I am going to mention what they've said, and there's a reason that I'm going to mention it. They've said Marcus Rashford should have ended the contest. In other words, he had a shot that the keeper saved, I think. Should have ended the contest, and greedy at times. So that's quite critical, that greedy at times, and then giving him a 6. They've given Mason a 4. They've given Daniel James a 5. There's too much goes on in these newspapers about players who, what they like and what they think about those players when they're giving the mark, right? I've gone through the game with a fine-tooth comb, and Marcus was particularly awful. I've counted 9 things that he did wrong or mistakes that he made in 20 minutes. Now, the reason I've done that, I've done it for he took the place of Daniel James. Now, Daniel James played for 68 minutes, and on my show with Flex the other night, on the fan cam with Flex, I said to Flex, don't think that Marcus was watching it live. When you watch it live, it's difficult to remember everything that happens. And obviously you're frustrated with things that go wrong, and you might be over happy with if you like a player that he did 1 or 2 things good. So it's difficult straight after the game. If you watch it in the cold light of day and really study it, you can take things in better for what they actually are. And I said to Flex that I think Daniel James, because he played for 70 minutes or 68 minutes compared to the amount of time that Marcus Rashford played, I said to Flex, I bet you that Daniel James made no more mistakes per minute on the pitch than Marcus Rashford did. Now, I've studied the game back, and it's not even per minute on the pitch. Marcus Rashford made more mistakes, literally more mistakes, not per minute. He literally made more mistakes in 22 minutes than Daniel James did in 68 minutes. So to give Daniel James a 5, Mason Greenwood a 4, and Marcus Rashford a 6 is nothing short of just favouring certain players because you favour those players. There's no other reason. Watch the game again. I don't know if the Manchester Evening Newsman who gives these marks might see this. Watch the game again. Have a good look at what Marcus does in the 22 minutes that he's on. And I think 6 out of 10 is way over the top. But I'm not going to give him a mark. I don't mark players who play 22 minutes. But a 6 is way over. So that's that on the player ratings. There's no time for a player in focus as such. There's no time for the votings. It's Burnley tomorrow. It's a massive game. Got to get them points. We're talking tomorrow at some stage about what the team might be, what Ollie's had to say. I've already heard that, well, I don't know if it's dead right, but I've seen on Twitter, and these people normally just read it in the newspapers, don't they, or see it on the TV. But I've seen that I think Luke Shaw's injured, and I think Pogba's injured, and I think Lindelof's injured. So that's interesting. I think Pogba being injured, because he's been playing in all the important games recently, and this is an important game, I think it eases the burden on Ollie to be able to pick the players that he wants to pick. There's going to be pressure on him. There's certainly media pressure. Whether he feels that or not, I don't know. But there's certainly media pressure for Van De Beek to get more games, and there's certainly fan pressure and media pressure for Cavani to get a game. And the players that are playing in all the big games recently, I think McTominay will play, I think Fred will play, I think Marshall will play, I think Rashford will play, and I think Bruno will play. That's 5. That leaves 1 place. That 1 place would possibly or even probably have gone to Pogba, and now I think that 1 place is between Cavani and Van De Beek. Cavani might start up front, or Van De Beek might start in a deeper role. So there's 2 players for 1 spot, and that 1 spot really is only available because Pogba's injured. So that'll be interesting to see what he does. In the morning, I'm going to do. This will go up tomorrow morning. I'm going to do a very short show about Anthony Martial's performance. He only got 20 minutes, and I'm going to show. I mentioned on Twitter the fact that he was sent on to try and get hold of the ball. When your team is he's we weren't under loads of pressure, but we were under a little bit of pressure. They were having a little bit more of the ball than we wanted them to have against Watford. We weren't getting hold of it in their half. Look, forwards are not sent on with the idea, go on there and win a few free kicks, but the coaches know if you get that ball down in front of you with players behind you, naturally they're going to come through you occasionally. You are going to win a few free kicks. That's a spin-off of actually doing the job right, and we weren't doing the job correctly. Anthony Martial was sent on there and told to get over the ball, hold of the ball, and also they know that that will lead to 1 or 2 free kicks for United, which gives time for the team to get up the field. And I'm just going to do a little show in the morning explaining all that, and there'll be a few clips going up. So that'll be up tomorrow morning. It'll show clips of 2 players that were playing before Martial. Only about 3 or 4 clips, but it'll show clips of Anthony Martial and the difference that he made compared to the players that were already on the field and what they should have been doing. So that's that for tomorrow morning. It should be a nice little show that I think you'll enjoy it. It won't take long. If you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anyone. Keep stum.